Welcome to Armor Protective Packaging. My name is Charles and I am the Technical Support Chemist here at Armor Labs. Today I'd like to take you on a brief tour of our lab facilities and show you some of the testing capabilities that we have. First of all, I'd like to put on some safety glasses. Our lab is divided into two areas. Out here in this area we have our heavy equipment, which includes our humidity chamber and our ovens. If you follow me into our second area, I'll show you that too. In this area of the lab we keep our more sensitive equipment, which includes our photo booth and our microscope and scales. This is our version of the vapor phase and contact phase corrosion inhibitor test. What we do with this test is we wrap the lower half of our high carbon steel disc with a VCI material. We put a rubber gasket around the sample just to keep the poly bag from touching it. The purpose of this test is to see if the VCI material will migrate out and protect the upper part of the steel disc, and there's also a contact component of the VCI material that will protect the lower part of the disc to indicate if that component is working properly also. Here we have an example of our contact and vapor phase corrosion inhibitor test. This is the control sample, and as you can see it did not provide corrosion protection in the contact phase or in the vapor phase. This is the Armor MPI VCI product, and as you can see it provided great protection from corrosion in the contact phase and the vapor phase. These are very good results. This is our version of the military VIA test or the NACE corrosion inhibitor test. This is the apparatus that we've assembled for this test. It allows us to hang VCI material and insert a high carbon steel metal plug. We then pour liquid into the bottom of it and store it at room temperature for 20 hours. After the 20 hours, pour ice cold water into the tube, which cools the test plug. Condensation forms on it, producing corrosion. These are the results from the NACE test. This is the control samples, and as you can see there's corrosion on the surface. These parts were protected by Armor VCI product, and as you can see they are corrosion free. This is our corrosion inhibitor comparison test. We use it for benchmarking our corrosion inhibitor performance against our competitors. Every corrosion comparison benchmark experiment begins with the submission of a lab project request form. The lab project request form consists of three areas. The top portion is reserved for the current date and requester's name. The next area is customer information. This lists the end user's name and the distributor's name with a contact person for each. The project objective provides a quick snapshot of what the purpose of the test is, what types of materials are to be tested, and if we are going to use customer parts or the standard steel discs. In the test procedure area, the initiator of the lab project request form will choose the type of test to be performed: humidity chamber testing, fluid chip test, NACE test. If customer parts are submitted for testing, it should also indicate if the parts are to be tested as received or cleaned. Denatured alcohol is used to remove processing fluids and/or any VCI protection used in shipping of the samples. The comment area should contain any pertinent information as to how the parts are packaged currently at the supplier, bulk or individually wrapped. This information will be used to determine appropriate test setup. All sections of the lab project request form are important. I use the project objective to ensure the test is set up correctly. I use the requester information if I need to contact the requester with questions, and I use the customer information to populate the final lab report to ensure it is properly addressed. For this test we create small VCI poly bags. We double seal all the edges to create a watertight environment. Each bag then gets a high carbon steel metal disc inserted into it. These metal discs are prepared at Armor to be corrosion free. The discs are prepared here at Armor using a belt sander with 80 grit sandpaper. They are sanded on both sides, including the outer edge. After they are sanded, they are inspected to ensure that they are corrosion free. The parts are then cleaned with denatured alcohol with a little bit of scrubbing. They are set aside to dry. When dried, they are inserted in a non-VCI zip style poly bag. A desiccant pouch is inserted in the bag to remove any moisture and prevent corrosion. After the discs are inserted in the bag, I'm going to triple seal the tops of them to guarantee that they're watertight. The purpose of the triple seal, so I can insert the fiberglass rod. Here at Armor, we prefer to use 3 samples for our benchmark trials. The use of 3 samples gives us verification that the test is either a success or a failure. You want to see consistent results on all 3 samples. If you don't get consistent results, then the test is either flawed or there was poor execution of the procedures and the test will need to be repeated. Also, each test needs to have a control sample. The control sample is necessary to show how the trial performs without the independent variable, which in this case is the VCI component of the test polys. For this experiment, I am using a non-VCI poly bag, so if the control does not rust, then the experiment is flawed. Now that we have all the bags sealed and hung on the fiberglass rod, we are going to place them into the humidity chamber. Well, that concludes our tour of the labs here at Armor Protected Packaging. I hope you enjoyed your time, and please come again.
Sure. If you'd like to learn more about Armor Protected Packaging and other ways to protect your equipment from rust or corrosion, please visit our website at www.armorvci.com.